have on our website will be the government team, right? Government team from Pramuka and the opposition from Palembang, right? So the motion for today is this house believes tourism is beneficial for the environment. Let's call upon the first speaker from the government team, Ms. Jasmine. The floor is yours.
The well that we will use is.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, honorable educators, my team, and my opponent. Today, I would like to, the House would like to deliver the motion. This House believes that tourism is beneficial for the environment in Indonesia. I will define the motion even further. Tourism is defined that the activities of a person who visits to a main destination outside of his or her usual environment for entertainment, education, and such other things. Beneficial is producing helpful result or effects. The environment, the circumstances, the objects, or the condition by which one is surrounded. Today, as the first speaker, my name is Jasmine Pramuka. I will deliver the first two arguments, and my deputy, Ms. Zalpa, will deliver the last two arguments and the rebuttals. My whip, Ms. Raisha, will defend our arguments and the rebuttals. And lastly, Ms. Zalpa will be the reply to summarize our debate. Number one, the first argument. The acquisition, why do we believe that tourism is beneficial for the environment in Indonesia? Because Indonesia has a lot of potential to increase the economic and social and nature in Indonesia because it has many places. We have many tourism sites that can increase those things which are the economic, social, and nature, which is the environmental. Now, yes.
So you said that you believe that the tourist is beneficial for the environment, yes? And also that you talked about the social culture and the economic. Do you think that is beneficial for the environment?
Yes. Okay. Number one, the first argument, the acquisition of foreign currency and the increase in gross national income. The Ministry of Tourism stated that tourism has been the biggest income for the nation since 2015. In 2017, foreign exchange from tourism increased 20% of the 16.8 million dollars. That's a lot of money. The source that we have from the Ministry of the Tourism itself, and tourism has been one of the biggest money investor in Indonesia. That is why it is very crucial for tourism to be tourism for Indonesia. Number two, it is good for a region's economy to create jobs based on tourist influx and businesses like hotels and boutiques that can cater to tourists. It would increase the civilians' welfare and per capita income. In 2016, about 12.0 million foreign tourists visited Indonesia, which was 15.5% higher than 2015. In that same year, the government was supported to be investing more in tourism development by attracting more foreign investors. I think that be all. Thank you very much.
Okay. So let's call upon the leader of opposition, Ms. Belinda. The floor is yours.
The Honorable, the educators, ladies and gentlemen. So we already heard some good points delivered by the first speaker from the government team. The first speaker from the government team said that Indonesia has a lot of potential for the economic and the social in our country, and the biggest income is become the biggest income since 2015. But we believe that the government team does not really understand the motion, because what we're talking here is beneficial for the environment, not for the economic side. And then why we disagree with this motion? Because the transport of tourists results in air pollution. So the movement of tourists from their home to their destination, it involves the transportation, like from the road, from the rail, and also from the air. And or maybe the combination of those transportation. And when a large number of tourists came to the destination, it will also automatically use the leads to a bigger use of the transportation. And it is impossible for them to just walk from their home to their destination. I believe no one would do that. And you guys cannot reject the fact that they will use the transportation as well. And we all are aware on the fact that emission from automobiles and airplanes are one of the biggest causes for air pollution. And when a large number of tourists of these modes of transport to reach the particular attraction, it pollutes both globally and locally and globally. And due to the rapid growth in international tourism, tourists now use the air travel for 60%, which is cause the air pollution. And then tourism leads to noise pollution too. And the tourist destinations are often subject as the significant noise pollution, and the tourist vehicle entering and leaving natural areas create a lot of noise, such as noise in the source of distress for wildlife. Loud music played by tourists in forested areas also disturb the animals. And the noise generated by tourist activities for long-term alters the natural activities patterns of animals. And then littering of tourist spots by irresponsible tourists. Irresponsible tourists often litter the tourist spots, and waste disposal is a great problem in the natural environment. And according to estimates, cruise ships in the Caribbean produce over 70,000 tons of solid waste annually. And if waste is disposed of irresponsibly in the sea, it can lead to death for the marine animals. It can disturb the ecosystem in the sea. And even the Mount Everest is not free of human-generated waste. Trekkers leave behind their oxygen cylinders. They also leave the trash, the garbage, and camping equipment. They leave that on the mount. And some trees in Himalayas and the states have been nicknamed on the toilet paper trail or the Coca-Cola trail, referring to the garbage they left behind. The waste produced at tourist spots contaminate the natural environment. And rampant construction of tourist facilities like hotels, cafes, and restaurants, and so on, in the area without proper arrangement for safe disposal of waste, and it can lead to the disastrous consequence. And wastewater carrying waste from such areas often pollute nearby water bodies, and it can lead to the eutrophication of water bodies and the loss of the balance in aquatic ecosystems. And pollution of water bodies with waste can also lead to the health issues and even epidemic that can ultimately wipe out the large population of aquatic flora and fauna, and it also impacts the human's health. So we do not say that tourism has many bad impacts from all aspects. we do not ban the tourism because, as said by the first speaker from the government team, that the biggest income for our country is from the tourism. So actually, the tourism is beneficial for the economic side, but we disagree that it is beneficial for the environment because they use, because the transportation they use cause the air pollution, their activities cause the noise pollution, and then they also litter everywhere, and the tourist facilities like hotels and so on can contaminate the natural environment. So I emphasize you that we totally disagree that tourism is beneficial for the environment. I think that's all. I just make this.
Ladies and gentlemen, honorable adjudicators, my friends, and also the opponent teams. My name is Zalfa, and I am the Deputy of Prime Minister in the government team. And today I'd like to rebuttal some of the arguments that have been delivered by the opposition team, and I'm also going to give two arguments of my team, which is the government team. First of all, I'm going to rebuttal about the economic things that the opposition has said. First of all, they think that we don't understand about the motion. Well, at first, our Prime Minister has said that environment itself includes economic, social, and cultural, which economic, social, and nature, which means that the opposition team is the one who doesn't understand about our own definition. And so, I'm going to start rebuttaling on. No thanks. I'm going to rebuttal on their first argument, which is pollution such as air, noise, and many more. First of all, I think that it is true that tourism may cause pollution, but we never know how much it affected the environment around us because they don't give us any valid sources. They don't give us any valid resources of the percentages and the side effects that cause to the human or the animals itself. They only speaking it through their mind without any valid facts. And second, they talk about, and the second argument is about littering. Well, actually, as the government itself, we're going to create a regulations and policy about littering. So the tourist itself would not litter, and we're going to give a strict consequence itself. And the thing that I would like to rebut the most from the opposition team is that they don't understand the parameter that we had set. We said the parameter is in Indonesia. But they keep talking and giving examples such as in Caribbean, Mount Everest. My question is are those places are in Indonesia? It is outside Indonesia. And so I'm going to continue on my arguments. My first argument, which is the third argument by the government team, is that tourism added sales taxes collected from tourism may benefit local infrastructures and schools and also the nature itself. Because of the tourism places that has spread all around Indonesia, the taxes has been collected from the tourists could help the villages to build to be more better villages, such as like to take care of the plants itself, or building a new schools, or maybe building a local infrastructures. This means that the villages around the tourism sites will be a developed villages. For example, a tourism village in Malang has been one of the best tourism village because of the infrastructures and schools and also the nature itself that has been built by the income of the sales taxes from the tourists. And also, yes.
So you said that the one of the best tourist place has many infrastructure and has even a school. But tell me, how does it impact the environment and benefit the environment? And you said keep going on economic. Can you please elaborate on that?
First of all, I'm not keep going on academic. I also talk about nature itself. So I think that the opposition doesn't really listen to what I'm talking. And why I think that schools and also local infrastructures give a lot of benefits, especially for the people, because they build schools. schools is very important for Indonesian especially. It educates us. Local infrastructures. For example, they built a clinic or puskesmas, which is very good for the human health itself, right? And also they could build a market or a shop that will benefit all of the human itself. And for the nature itself, there are a lot of sangkadan or what we said terrace setting in the villages, and it needs a lot of money. And because of the money from the tourism, it will help the building of the terrace setting itself. And the second argument that I'm going to deliver is tourism promote the environment culture and also into the tourist and cultural approach. This is the social aspect of the environment benefits. First of all, cultural tourism consists of 9 aspects, which are language, traditions, handicraft, foods, eating habits, art and music, and also dance, history, work and technology, religion, and also architectural. I'm going to give an example in language. If you went to Bandung, you will went to a bus called Bandros, right? In Bandros, you will be thought to speak in Sundanese, even though it's just a little and basic phrase. And the second one, traditions. We will know Toraja in Sulawesi Selatan. In South Sulawesi, in Toraja, we were taught about the cultural itself, the traditions on how they take care of their family, etc. And also the handicraft that are actually famous among the tourists are in West Kalimantan. Food and eating in West Java, art and music in Garuda Wisnu Kencana Bali, where people would dance kecak towards the tourists. History in Danau Toba, work and technology in East Java, and also religion in Baduy, architectural with Candi, Anjungan in TNI, and a lot of more. So I think that tourism indeed bring a lot of benefit for us by the economic aspect, environmental aspect, cultural, social, and a lot of more. Because environment itself is a wide definition. Thank you.
Honorable educators and ladies and gentlemen, the second speaker and the first speaker of the government team gave us some very, very good arguments about the motion today, which is how tourism can be beneficial for the environment. But I think, especially the second speaker and the second speaker forgot a thing or two about the motion, which is that this is for the environment. And yes, you mentioned, of course, you mentioned the environmental aspect, but you keep going about the infrastructure that they made. You talked about school that BOI, and how does that affect the environment as a whole? And you talked about also cultural tourism, and you give 9 examples. Oh yes, they teach us about the language. Do you think that is beneficial for the environment? Do you think that it will reduce gas emission? Yes, we clearly didn't give any data of how much the littering is, but you can see it with your own eyes that people litter in this tourist site and tourist guide. And if you rely on the tourist guide itself, you cannot blame the tourist guide. Yes.
Please define environment.
Environment is a place for the living creature that is there in the habitat, the place, and also is a place for people to live. And so for the environmental, if you want to protect the environmental itself, you need to keep these tourists from going to this specific tourist place, even though it is in the economic aspect, it is beneficial for Indonesia. But do you know what the government do with the money? You didn't give us any explanation what the government does with the money. No, thank you. You didn't give us the money for the environment. They just kept it and possibly to maintain the tourist site itself. Like you said before, like the second speaker also mentioned, that they build school with the economic taxes that they gain from the tourist site. So to jump to my argument is that if we're talking about tourism as a whole, there's many aspects that can go wrong with it, especially if we're talking about vandalism. Yes, like the first speaker of the government already stated that, oh yes, we have so many foreign tourists to come to Indonesia and visit these places, but do they know the regulation? oh yes, maybe they can say that there's signs and there is a briefly guide about the site, the tourist site. But do you think the people will listen? Do you think that they still 100% obey the rules that they have been set in the tourist site? And do you think that like the second speaker also mentioned that where the government is gonna give consequences, but you didn't give any example of the consequences that will happen if people litter them. And also that the safety of the tourist itself. You know that in national park is a part of the tourist attraction. For such Komodo Island, okay, we go to the Komodo Island. There's tourists there, and okay, there's sign in the front of the tourist island that we cannot take pictures of the Komodo Island because they are sensitive to the infrared that is produced by the camera itself. So do you think that okay, I come from Australia and I visit the Komodo, but I didn't take any pictures? Do you think the tourists will listen to the guidelines? But instead, there's actually many reports of attacks of Komodo attacking the tourists, and the tourists blaming the tour guide for not protecting them. But the tour guide actually, if you know that there's in the guidelines of tour guide, there's actually the safety regulation that they need to be taught and teach the tourists that comes to the place. And also, if we're talking about environmentally, there's souvenirs that comes from the tourist site, yes. But many of them comes with the animal and plant origin. How many do you think that the tourist management know that it is from a protected species or an endangered species, even worse? Do they know? No, they only benefit, like the second speaker already mentioned. It's only on the economic aspect, not the environmental. No, thank you. And also that national parks, since national park is the one that is producing the souvenir itself, we don't know that the souvenir itself is even legal to be produced and sell to the tourist itself. So to think that tourists as a whole is beneficial for the environment, we highly disagree that. We think that the tourist itself can cause some terrible issues that my third speaker will also mention. And if you keep talking about the economic side, and if you keep talking about the economic side but not giving us any explanation, or even the first speaker did not give us any definition, give us the definition of the environmental benefits too from the tourist itself, I think that we can close this debate and thank said that we can win this debate because they clearly don't know the motion, and the second speaker actually strongly believes that the economic aspect will improve and somehow improve the environmental aspect, but they didn't give any reason. I think that's all from me. I rest my case. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone.
Okay.
So, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Elizabeth Rizabino, as the third speaker or the government whip of this team. So, as a whip, my duty is to rebut and to give some strengthen or some evidence for my team's arguments. So first, I'm going to rebut the second speaker and the first speaker's arguments. But actually, for my opinion, I don't hear any arguments came from the second speaker because he focused on the rebuttal itself. And from the rebuttal itself, he said that we as the government do not define the motion, but actually we did. And the motion that we actually define are that the motion is that added road taxes
Do I?
Yeah.
So you said that I didn't mention my argument, but I clearly stated that the vandalism and the safety of the tourist itself is my argument.
But unfortunately, you didn't say first or second, so we, as the government, did not listen to that because we don't know that it's an argument. Thank you. So we stated that we are environment in meanings of cultural, economics, and environment or nature, which my friend has already stated that the nature itself are actually very, very, very benefits by this. We also stated that the culture also, not only the economics,
Like maybe in the cultural, we have language, traditional, handicrafts, foods and eating habits, art and music, history, work and technology, religion and architecture. Don't you listen to any of those? Because we're not stating only economics, but we also state the cultural effects also. And for the environment, we also state that we will have a strict, very, very strict policy for those who not obeying the rules. My question is, no thank you. My question is that we are questioning why does the Komodo attack them? Where? When? How do you get the resource? Do you have any valid resource statements?
Thank you. You said that we didn't we didn't listen to the social culture. Yes, we listened, but it's not actually. How is it? Tell me, how is it beneficial for the environment?
Because when the tourists know our culture, they would tell other people, and by telling other people in their place, they will come to our place, making us more popular and getting us gross incomes more and more. Also for the environment, we're not only going to provide them with some, we have to provide them with some beautiful environment also. That doesn't mean we have to that doesn't mean we as the government do not take action for those who litter. So you ask what is the very special and detailed find that that you asked for us. Actually, we stated that those who do vandalisms are going to be fined $500 US and 2 months of imprisonment. And that for us is a very, very crucial thing, because they have vandalized the place of history. They have litter on a place of a very protected place. And also, I'm questioning, Indonesia is a very, very, very close to religions. So we have also some religion rules that we cannot break. Like maybe those who litter there are so many legends and so many stories that those who litter or broke these rules are not only being attacked by law, but also by the owners of the mountain itself. Which is, there is a lot, like maybe in Mount, or whatever, but it's a specific places, and some specific mountains also have that, like Mount Bromo actually. They have a very, very unique and a very, very strict religious rules. Indonesia doesn't state which place that actually have illegal souvenirs that are actually provided to the tourists. You said national parks give illegal souvenirs to the customer, and customer doesn't know. Actually, national park give souvenirs that are made from themselves. They doesn't use any illegal because they are verified in this region or in this country. That's why they have national park and they have the name of national park, and they are verified and advertised in internet. They use those souvenirs to protect and help themselves, to help the place to actually grow and grow. This is not about the economics, but we also see about the culture itself, the environment itself. With those monies, we can use them to make sure that our endangered animals is not endangered anymore. This is clearly helping and strengthen my friends' opinions. And I think that's all from me. Thank you.
I'm so sorry.
Okay. Government, please.
The honorable educators, ladies and gentlemen. Let me tell you what happened in this debate. The first speaker from government has told several good points. They mentioned about the tourism as the activity for entertainment and so on, as the definition of tourism itself. And also, they mentioned about the tourism gives us a lot of benefits for environment. For example, in environment, environment economy. For example, give the benefits for the economy, like the Ministry of Tourism said, and also the good creating more job to the society itself, especially in Indonesia. But we from the opposition didn't hear the definition of the environment itself.
Why?
No thanks. Environment itself. Yeah, the second speaker of the government told us that the environment here, economy and also education and others. So let us think again. What's the name of the place that we are living? If we say that environment is like economy and social, I mean this is related to its nature. And then the second speaker from the government also told us about the tourism taxes that can make new buildings such as school, local infrastructure and markets and so on. But here, what is the relation between the school and the tourist activity itself? And let us think that not every village that 100% agrees that their village getting developed like the city.
Why?
No thanks. And also, here I'd like to talk about, restate again what my team already said before. My first speaker already told us about the bad impacts of tourism itself, especially for environment. And here we, opposition team, still believe that what the motion mean here as the environment is the environment where we live, related to its nature. And no, thanks. My first speaker told that the tourist that comes in Indonesia brings lots of the waste, and then they also give, for example, we can see in Bunaken, there are lots of the waste in the Bunaken itself that comes from the plastic and so on. And no thanks. And the waste itself can disturb the animal that lives in the water. In the water itself. And then the second one is my first speaker also said about the noise polluting that can disturb the animals and also the human itself. And we know that no thanks. And we know that the pollution, the air pollution itself and also the noise pollution can give bad impacts for us. For example, we know that our ear, it has its own frequency and it will be disturbed by the noise pollution itself. And then the next one is my first speaker also stated that the building to provide the needs of the tourism itself, for example the hotels and so on, it can damage our environment. What we mean, like I said before. And then as I said that, for example, in Palembang is one of the most famous city for of tourism itself. And now in Palembang there are lots of hotel buildings, and it is so different when I was child. And the existence of the building itself, it can cause the flood in Palembang city. When we remember that Palembang crucial thing, and then tourism can can support this pollution, because we know that tourism is an activity that move from the one place to another place, and as my first speaker already told to you before that it impossible if the tourist itself go to the tourist destination, use their own looks and so on. And then my second speaker already talked about the vandalism also, that for example that happens in the Rinjani month. The tourists, the visitors I mean, take the flower Rinjani in the top of the mountain itself. And then the last one is my second speaker also told us about the safety of the tourist itself. For example, the Komodo Island itself, then it's happened in the 2015, and it is disturb the tourist, and it hurt the tourist, because the tourist itself went to take pictures of the Komodo itself, and we can guarantee that the tourist is always safe. And the most important thing is the first speaker of the government already forgot about the background, and we know that background is one of the format in Asian Parliamentary game. We back to oppose.
The reply speech of the opposition.
Honorable educators, ladies and gentlemen, before I start, I want to rebuttal some of the facts that I want to firstly summarize the debate from my team. So, from my team, that we strongly disagree that tourism as a whole can be beneficial for the environment, and we give example of the negative impacts that happens while the tourist itself is going on. We, as my first speaker mentioned, there's noise pollution, there is air pollution, and as we heard that they didn't deny the fact that the tourist itself actually causes the main causes of the gas emission and air pollution and noise pollution, because it is true, and they didn't give us any facts that it doesn't. So they actually support our argument for the fact that the tourism itself is not beneficial, because you know that pollution is the main cause of the environmental issue that we have right now. And they kept going, and as for the second speaker, like I talked about vandalism that is happening on tourists, especially in Indonesia. You know that Indonesia is an underdeveloped country, which means that they don't have enough fund to pay high security guards that will prevent the vandalism itself. And also the third speaker gave us example of vandalism in US dollars, and but you limit itself on Indonesia. So this means that you're the one that's not consistent with the limit on itself. And also that the third speaker also gave us very good examples of the social culture, but they didn't give us an explanation how the social culture itself will be beneficial for the environmental. Yes, like I said before, as the second speaker, we can we can learn about the Sundanese culture, but it doesn't mean that we also gonna learn about the environmental issue that is happening on Java also. And then she talked about littering. The third speaker talked about she rebuttals about the littering. She said that foreign people will somehow she basically related the littering to the religion rules, and that they have sins, and also, but you know that in debate there's the rule that we cannot relate this to religion. We must relate this with the fact and data that they didn't provide on littering. So they agree that littering is one of the main problems of environmental issues, and tourism is not beneficial for the environment itself. And They also kept going on about the building more infrastructure, building like the second speaker of the opposition, keep going about school, but also that you know that yes, building more school is very beneficial on our social culture, not the environmental. But you ever thought that maybe we should stop building school? Maybe we should we should not stop building school, but we should not building more, because we should we should maintain the schools that we have and make them improve to the modern era. So I think we will win this debate because that our opposition group clearly stated all of the environmental negative impacts, and the government didn't exactly rebuttal our environment tax and didn't give us any explanation. I think that's all. I rest my case.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, educators, my teammates, and opponents. I'm Zalfa, the Deputy of Prime Minister, and today I'm going to summarize the whole debate that has been going on today. We also will comprise the arguments that has been delivered today by the government team and also by the opposition themselves. First, we claim that tourism is beneficial because it gives acquisition of foreign currency and increase in gross national income. We've given valid facts, and it is also such a deal that it does give beneficial things for us. And the problem here is that the opposition team also does not disagree with our arguments, our first argument, which is 1 point for us. The second one, it is good for a region's economy, creating jobs based on tourist influx and businesses. It is not only economic aspect but also social aspects benefit. And it is also the arguments that the opposition team didn't rebut. 2 points for us. The third one, it added sales taxes collected from tourists may benefit local infrastructures, schools, and also nature. Yes, the opposition team indeed rebut us on this argument, but the problem is they didn't give any valid facts, and they forgot about the government itself mentioning terrorism the whole time. They keep saying that we didn't mention nature and we're focusing on infrastructures, but unfortunately the opposition team, we keep saying terrorism, but you are the one who is not listening to us. And the fourth one is promoting the environmental culture in the tourist and cultural approach. It is a yes, and also another argument that the opposition team didn't rebut. Another point for us, which is 0 points. And the most important thing in the debate itself is that the opposition team seems not to understand our definition of environment. We've been defining it in every speakers, but they seem saying that our definition of environment is wrong. Well, as the government, we have our own definition of environment, and it is up to us with what kind of environment that is beneficial for us. And the second main problems, is that the opposition teams does not want to accept our POIs except for the deputy of leader opposition, which is really unfortunate because we have a lot of clarification and also questions to ask to them. And it seems that there are a lot of scores for the government itself rather than for the opposition teams. We strongly agree that tourism gives beneficial, and we already give all our arguments, our opinions, our valid facts, our parameter which is in Indonesia, and they give a lot of example outside Indonesia which has crossed the parameter itself, and it is actually wrong. So I think that the government team should be win in this debate because it is indeed tourism is beneficial for us. And if all of the educators, ladies and gentlemen, agree with our statement and our stances, we beg all of you to come and join us on our stance and statement. Thank you very much.
Seems like final.
Tough one.
Yeah, okay, right. Thank you very much for both teams and everyone who's coming for being present. But I believe we took a little bit more than 10 minutes this decision because there are some things we need to confirm first. Because as interesting as it may be, you brought two different definitions on the table. So we have to have some checking there. Now, here's the thing that I would like to remind you about debate. Now, debate is not only about how good you are in public speaking, it's basically a model to how you are going to be in the public as a politician, as a policymaker. Right? So whenever you want to convince people that your policy makes sense, it must first make sense to the people to accept your policy itself. Therefore, in the part of the definition, the problem is when we have already looked it up, right, in so many sources, in so many places, that the environment is basically everything that surrounds us. So yeah, it's basically the nature, right? So it's basically the nature. Now, first of all, I must say that the government, you are very good at convincing people, right? Therefore, I believe in the debate. I believe in you have a very nice way ahead of you that you can sway a lot of people with your argumentation, right? So I believe this is just a hunch, just my hunch that the opposition, I believe, kind of a little bit swayed a little bit, right? So you kind of like lose your confidence when you listen to how confident they are in making and bringing up their cases, right? And I must say I like your style in giving out your arguments. Very convincing, very solid, I must say, right? Okay, very much like politicians and good public speakers, I must say that, right? So something that you can learn from your opponents, right, from the other side, right? Now, economic, social, cultural that you have already come up are very nice and very sound policies that you have brought, right? If only your arguments is also something that can back up what is actually the definition of it, which is the nature, right? So for example, like all the money that you get, all the progresses you got from the education is actually to help the nature, then it could help your argumentation a lot, right? So on the other side, opposition, right? That cool that you can stand up from the first speaker until the end, that you can stand up to your own definition that it is nature and you are insisting on it, right? And then good that you're always questioning that, okay, it brings a lot of money, but what is the benefit for the nature there, the environment? That's quite good for your side there. So I believe we have already read so that's basically just the fundamental of the debate here. You are very convincing, right? Very convincing, very nice. So I think that you can have, you have a lot of bright future. You will have a bright future ahead, right? But unfortunately, in this case, we are favoring the opposition team because of the definition they brought up is actually more to the basic of the debate itself, right? So Palembang, congratulations, you are going to the final. But doesn't mean that you are bad, right? Okay, doesn't mean that you are losing, you are bad. No, you are very good, I must say. Right. So congratulations to everyone, right? Okay, see you in Bandung. See you again some other time, some other occasions, right? Because you are very good. I would like to see you